They love it if you scratch the back of their neck because they can never touch it. Look.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to Thriftstoria, the story behind thrift store finds. Tonight on Thriftstoria, how we found more than religion at church. Welcome. This is our inaugural show, and this is all about the story behind the story of what we found in our thrift store finds and our rummage sales. And tonight is we're featuring one of our favorite pieces, and this is our Hans Wegner chair. And for Americans, that's Hans Wegner, Wegner. Yes, it's pronounced Wegner, I believe. Anyways, when I first saw this chair, I fell in love with it immediately, just because I love simple design. I like blonde wood. I love cord seating. It just looked beautiful, and I knew that I wanted to own it. And it helped that it only was, marked $10, so I immediately picked it up. My husband, on the other hand, saw it and walked past it. And what did you think of this chair when you first saw it?
I thought that, well, because of the condition, I didn't think it was anything. Maybe from the 70s.
Because the condition is what? It's in beautiful condition.
The cord is excellent, and that type of thing never holds up.
So you can see that the bottom is almost
as
finely woven as the top.
It's the color of hay. It's still got that yellowish brown hue from when it was first put on.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Whoever had this took excellent care of it, and then it must have been in dry storage since 1950.
Yes, and the chair is over 60 years old.
It's incredible.
Yes,
and I actually, when we got it back, I sat in it, and I could not believe how comfortable a simple chair like that is.
It is. That's one of the most remarkable things about this chair is that it is incredibly comfortable. In fact, that was one of Hans Wegner's biggest goals, or he thought it was the most important thing, was to create a chair that is comfortable and useful, not just for decoration. But Hans Wegner, direct quote, said, "A chair is to have no backside. It should be beautiful from all sides." And you can see, looking at this chair, look at these lines. The design, it's a piece of artwork. I mean, you can just see this is a gorgeous chair, which, lucky for everyone out there, they're still producing this particular design. And my hands, I'm being attacked by our cat Cicero. But you can see every which way that you put this chair, it stands on its own. It's a beautiful chair. And also it's made to be displayed and used on its own. Just as if, any other beautiful piece of art. You don't need, 6 matching pieces of art. You just need one very good.
Cleaning it right now.
Oh, Kitten's cleaning it, yes. And sometimes Kitten sits on the cord seat, unfortunately. And so far, this fine cord seat has withstood the love of our kitten, Cicero. Yes. But for those of you who are interested in Danish chairs like this by Hans Wegner, this is he's one of, if not the top Danish designers of chairs of the mid-century school. But there are, as I learned from reading a review of the book Danish Chairs by Mr. Oda, that Hans Wegner and Arne Jacobsen, Hans Wegner worked for Arne Jacobsen for a time, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Great Danes in chair design, there's so many, like Jensen, the designer of an extraordinary 1955 nylon cord racket chair, to Tove Kindit Larsen, prolific in Denmark from the 1930s through the 1950s, but unknown in the U.S. And also, there are variants on this design. For example, you may find other chairs, dare I say, equally as well made, that are knockoffs. In fact, we'll be discussing that in another episode of Thriftstoria, other Swedish chairs we found that aren't necessarily, we can't necessarily pinpoint them to a particular designer, but they were knockoffs of a really good designer, but they're just as well made chairs and worth considerable sums themselves. But the way to identify this chair is obviously the design, the cording, which is amazing. I've talked about, and then at the bottom it does say "Made in Sweden," and it told us it was made in Jacobson by Jacobson in that area, in his design studio. So we were able to readily identify it as a Hans Wegner just by Googling that basic information. This is also known as the Y chair or the wishbone chair, and Hans Wegner did not name any of his chairs. So these just are nicknames that came along as this chair was produced. And one little fun fact about Hans Wegner is his designs were so popular in 1960. JFK and Nixon actually sat in his chairs during the presidential debate, and that's our cat Jimmy. Yes, he almost matches the color of the chair. So, what a beautiful organic design once again by Mr. Wegner, matches the color of a cat's fur. No. Anything else you want to add to our find or information about this chair and thrift store finds, or this chair in particular?
There's so many reproductions out there that you come across in clothing and everything, pottery, whatever. But when you find something like this, I mean, somebody went out in 1950 and bought this chair. It was the first, edition of this chair.
Yes.
And the condition, it's not like I have this beat up chair from the 50s. This chair, it looks like it's been in the house for a year. I mean, It's just beautiful.
I think that's the key to it, because honestly, when I saw this chair, I had no idea who produced it.
Oh,
I did not know the value of this chair, which probably could be around $1,100, just based on the what's the word they use on antique, provenance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because it is one of the originals. It's not one later produced ones, which would just be just as beautiful. But this is probably from 49 or 50. But I had no idea that the $10 chair was this. But I did know that it would look beautiful. It just immediately attracted me. So it was like true love. Like when I met my husband, I didn't know exactly what it was that I saw in him, but I had that gut feeling. And I think that's what it's like with good furniture. You have a gut feeling and you just know. And so I'm going to leave you with a quote. Before I do that, I want to tell you that if you're interested in more Hans Wegner and collecting him, there are resources online, and one of those is a Facebook group, which I started, and it's just, if you're on Facebook, you just type in Hans Jorgen, Jorgen Wegner, Hans Jorgen Wegner, on Facebook, and you can find us and you can join us and learn more about Wegner. And I'm going to leave you with this final quote about him, or a quote rather by him. The chair is to have no back. Oh, I'm sorry, I already said that one. The chair does not exist. The good chair is a task. One is never completely done with. And apparently that's true, because our cats continually try to add modifications that we're trying to prevent. Thank you very much, and I hope you join us next time on Thrifstoria. Leave some comments, visit our website. And next time on Thrifstoria, we're going to discuss our other finds at church other than religion, which include a Haywood Wakefield set and some other